fill in the blank. You're not getting any younger, so
do it. I could get back all the time I spent hating my body and not going to events or enjoying things because of how I looked. I would have years of my life back.
Hey you! Yes, you! Welcome to the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast, a podcast for people who want to disrupt their lives for a good reason, to make it count. I'm your host, Jen Glantz, and every week I'll drop a new episode with stories from real people just like you, who woke up one morning and decided to make big changes, starting with small things. We'll cover topics like entrepreneurship, love, failure, and self-care. Hey, you're not getting any younger, so let's make this an adventure. Ready? Hey, Any Youngers, Jen Glantz here. Welcome back for another brand new episode of the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast. Today, we're talking about one of my biggest pet peeves: friendship breakups. The older you get, the longer you have friends, the more you're going to fall victim to a friend either ghosting you or completely breaking up with you. It happened to me last year. One of my closest friends sat me down, looked me in the eye, and said, "Jen, I don't want to be your friend anymore." And I know I'm talking about it right now like it was nothing and meant nothing to me, but it really did break my heart. It was one of the most painful things I had to experience ever. And if it's something that you've experienced too, you will admit that sometimes it feels worse than a breakup. To help us tackle this topic today, I have everyone's best friend, Annabelle DeSisto, on the show. You might remember her from an earlier episode of the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast. Annabelle used to write for my favorite ultimate idol, Joan Rivers, and now hosts the popular podcast, Adderall and Compliments. On the show today, we talk about what happened last year when both Annabelle and I got broken up with by different friends, and how to navigate the world of friendship if you're that kind of person who has been broken up with, or if you're the kind of person who has a friend or two that you want to break up with. How do you go about it the complete right way? Thank you so much again for listening to the show. It means the absolute world to me. If you have just 20 seconds, it would be so awesome if you can go on iTunes and drop us a review. We're so close to getting 100 reviews for this show, so if you could be that person that makes it happen, it would be awesome. And as always, don't be shy. Come hang out with us in the secret You're Not Getting Any Younger Facebook group. See you there. I need to move to LA and be this girl's best friend. And today on the show, that is what we're talking about. So let's welcome Any Younger's best friend, Annabelle. Hey, Annabelle.
That is the best compliment ever.
Oh,
besides,
my God, stop.
Have you lost weight? Saying that I'm like dream BFF, because I'm like being with you, the youngers. Okay. I understand why people pay you to be their friend at weddings. I'm like, because she is fantastic at it. And I'm like, even if my mom is paying her, you know what? Well worth the money, every cent.
This is a free job right here, right now, being with you. But I'm seriously so excited. Like, I haven't seen you in probably a year. But even when I just saw you when I first walked in, I'm like, oh my God, Annabelle, you seem so happy. You seem so healthy. I feel like 2019 has been your year so far. So talk to us about this year. What have you been up to and how are you doing?
Thank you so much, because it is very true. This is the happiest I have been. And I know saying like I'm the happiest I've been. Granted, like 2018 was a fucking like shit show. So people are like, well, yeah, anything was probably be an improvement from 2018, which is true. But 2019 is the happiest I've been in years. And I think it is because I've redone my life of I'm not focused on other people.
Yes.
I'm not surrounding myself with people I have to constantly take care of more than myself, where I'm so busy about worrying about their well-being, if they like me, if they're like how they feel about me that week, like going over and hoping that we don't have a problem, like just trying to keep them happy, like being a fluffer, like every week for friends that doing way more work than is being reciprocated to me. Getting rid of those people and focusing completely on my own podcast, my own thing, and coming to terms with what is happening now instead of trying to live in who was with me in Facebook pictures 8 years ago. Like, you have to take it from where it is now, today. Like, that was a huge help. And then putting myself out there, like, I completely changed my way of doing things. Before, I would never go up to a guy ever. Like, going somewhere by myself, I would never. I'm like, I can't do that. I'm like, it's not like I'm blind. I don't need a seeing eye dog. I don't need to bring a person with me everywhere. But like, that's how in my mind I thought about it. And I was like, I would never go up to a guy and just start talking to him. And I did. And now I've been dating that person. Next week will be 5 months.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So I feel like there has been 2 major changes in your life, and I want to talk about both of them. The first one is, we've been hanging out for the last couple hours, and one of the things that you brought up, and this is my favorite topic to talk about because it was the most hurtful thing that happened to me in 2018, but you brought it up and you were talking about how last year was a really hard year for many reasons, but one of the reasons was because you lost a lot of best friends, and a lot of best friends broke up with you, which is literally the same thing that happened to me last year, and something that we talk a lot about in the Secret You're Not Getting Any Younger Facebook group is how in the world to deal with this. So last year, you had a couple of amazing friends, or you thought they were amazing friends, literally walk out of your life. First of all, how did that make you feel?
At the same time.
So
normally when you have a fight or break up with someone, you can go to the other friends and talk about it, and you can nurse it with them. When all of those people are gone at the same time, so it's not even like it's staggered. It was basically, you know how like okay, you can rip the Band-Aid off. It was basically like, all right, just rip the limb off and have me bleed out. And that's how I felt, where it's like I came back to my apartment and it felt like I was like in a coma, because I was like, I don't know what to do now. Like, I don't know what's happening. Like, my life, my social life as I know it, for the most part, is not here anymore.
Which is so tough because, like, you're not from LA, you live here. These are people you hung out with all the time. So, like, what did you do? Like, were you like, who do I call? Who do I see? Like, how did you recover from this?
And it felt so awful. And I'm like, and I would be like Selena Gomez's best friend, where, like, you know, she gave her like a kidney or whatever.
Right.
With Jacqueline Marfucci, host. I mean, you've like,
she's on the podcast.
You've been like on the podcast. Host of like What's Your Jersey podcast, and my friend like Rachel Swimmer, like, what they did for me was like completely like step up and like take care of me and like nurse me as like a human.
Right.
They were basically like, you know, in Sex and the City, like the movie where like,
yes,
you know, Samantha's feeding her pudding.
Oh, for sure.
Like that, like basically like that level.
Best friend goals.
And then it's also, you're afraid, like, you don't want to put too much pressure on. Like, it's not also like fair to them to, you know. But I went through my own little coma I gained like 25 pounds, which also doesn't help depression.
For sure.
You know, so it makes you even more depressed. And I already have depression just anyway. Which is like, medication doesn't make your depression go away. It just like manages it. But even I never experienced something like this before, like to this like magnitude.
Well, it's crazy because like, and I only got broken up with one friend on the same day, which I thought was like the most devastating thing in the world. But like, I remember when that friend looked me in the eye and said, I don't want to be your friend anymore. The pain that I felt was worse than any breakup I've ever had in my life. Like, was this harder for you than any guy ever saying like, Annabelle, I don't want to be with you anymore?
Yes. And I've only been broken up with once, but that was because I'd only at that time been in 2 relationships.
Yeah.
This felt 1,000 times worse.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
That felt like the guy breakup was like a fucking just like needle, like compared to like a fucking boulder.
Oh, for sure.
That's like not a good comparison, but I'm bad at
No, I mean,
I'm not. That's why I'm not a writer. Is that similarly compared? Whatever. Because it's like when girls break up with a friend, you are intimate with your best friend you are more intimate with your best friend in a different way.
Totally.
Like way more than sex like could ever be.
You're emotionally involved with them. Like best friends, like you tell them things you don't tell anybody else. Like they're there for you all the time. Like I felt in my situation, like the best person I had in my life walked out and I had nobody else. And I felt like such a big moment of grief and anger and all of this stuff. And here's the thing, like I think what we're going through is super common because every time I tell somebody what happened to me last year, 9 out of 10 times they're like, oh my God, the same thing has happened to me too. So like, what do you think it is? Like not your personal situation, but like in general, like why when we reach our 30s do we find that a lot of our friendships change or we grow out of them or people walk out of our lives? Like what is going on here?
I found out from my friend Naha, who she's like my healer. She's a teacher at House of Intuition and she's done the podcast. She's absolutely incredible. And she has her own book that came out. She told me about this thing and everyone has it and it's called Saturn Return. Have you ever?
I haven't, but I have listened to this episode. So please check out Adderall and Compliments. We'll link it in the show notes.
And I'm going to mess up like the particulars, but like you can look it up and basically it normally happens everyone's like Saturn return normally happens between 27 to like 29. Ooh. Is like those are like the normal, but it's like your end of your 20s, like very beginning of your 30s, but mostly at the end of your 20s.
Yeah.
Where that's kind of like the Saturn is like returning in like your birth chart or whatever, and that's when so many people like lose friends, like change their job, move, break up. Like that's when most of your big life changes happen, normally kind of like in sequence.
Yeah. That's crazy. I mean, it explains a lot, I think, of what we go through when we were just talking about this too, like transitioning from like your upper 20s to like your early 30s is like a really weird feeling. And I think we go through a lot emotionally and mentally during that time. We change, people around us change, and like weird things happen where friends break up with you.
And when she said that, I was like, oh my God. And I looked at the time and I wrote about it in the kitten group and so many of like, were like, oh my God, that's like what's happening to me right now. Because it's like kind of like the first quarter of your, like not quarter of your life, but like it's coming around and now it's like you're a complete like new phase. So everything is kind of dropping off that no longer serves you, or that like you've learned the lessons that you've like were supposed to learn like in this, whatever you believe in, but like that has gotten you to this point. Mm-hmm. And now it's like you're setting up for like the next round. It's like you've come this far, you've met the people you're supposed to meet, you've had the connections, you've had the job, whatever, and it's like all built you to like your next platform.
I'm like loving this so much right now because I find that to be so true. Like I feel like you work so hard in your early 20s to become somebody, and then like as you leave your 20s and you enter your 30s, you take only what you need with you.
Yes, exactly. She's like that it's shedding away all of the extra layers, so you have like the bare bones of what you need that's best for you to move on to your next phase. Like you're not dragging any like dead weight of stuff that you are too afraid to like let go. That is probably has not been healthy for you for a very long time, but it's the fear of being alone or the fear of like losing something that even if you hate it, you're comfortable with the hate because that's a feeling that you've been so used to.
Which I think is why, and I've had to wrestle with this for months, when people walk out of your life, you have to keep the door open for them to go, because there are some times when we don't know that a friendship has gone stale or that it's bad, or we can't recognize that this is not the way it should be. And I don't know, like I think you and I are very different, but I do think one of the things that we have in common is that we really care about the people in our lives. Like even just watching you and talking to you for years, like when people are in your life, you nurture them, you care about them. So when they go, you're like, what?
Because it never bothered me that I didn't have like a romantic relationship. Like I was broken up with by that guy like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And he was like the only guy I'd ever been with in LA. And it never bothered me that I wasn't like dating or I didn't have guys, because like the most important relationships in my life, I'm like, oh no, like I was so lucky enough to have like the best group of girlfriends. And I would like brag of like, cause I really did feel like I lucked out of like the like group I had, like the group of girls like I knew here and that I met here. And like, they're so beautiful and smart and funny. And it's like, and that's true. And so it's like, I really did feel like so like super lucky.
Yeah.
And I really like cherish those relationships, and to have it kind of all just fall apart at once. So to not have anyone to even like go lean on, you know, and it's just, it was super, super like devastating. And like all you want to do is like fix it. But it's like, I think with anything that's like broken, like your boyfriend breaks up with you, your friend breaks up with you, whatever it is, like your natural reaction is to like, no, don't leave. Yes. And then it's like, the last thing you want to do is have to like, you should not have to be like a used car salesman for yourself and been like, but look at me, I have like 8,000 miles, and you could like, you shouldn't have to sell yourself to have somebody stay with you.
But we're so guilty of that, and I've done that plenty of times with guys, plenty of times with friends. Like even I do it like in a sad way, where like after that friend broke up with me, I tried to like post the best version of myself on the internet, like, oh, look at what you're missing out on. But like, that is the thing. When people leave, you have to let them go, because people leave for reasons that we will never understand. Like in both of our situations, we're like, what happened? How did we miss this? But I also think in a couple years from now, we're going to look back, and maybe even right now you look back and you're like, oh, they needed to leave. Like this wasn't the right kind of friendship for me. And I think that's the interesting thing about life in general, is that we lose. I truly believe that we lose things when we're supposed to lose them.
Yes. I think that's 1000% true. And normally you lose things or like jobs, whatever, people that you probably would never be strong enough to get rid of or end yourself. Totally. And so like the universe or whatever you think ends it for you. And as painful as it is, it's like you would never be able to rip that Band-Aid yourself. No. And it's always what's best for you and also what's best for them. It's like your chart, like you guys have connected and you guys came into each other's lives or job, whatever, for a reason. I truly think that. And it's like, once you can't grow anymore in that situation and it's not healthy for either of you or for you to be in that situation, it's like the universe like continues on and like takes care of you and moves you to the next thing. And sure, fucking uncomfortable as it is and like sucks and is really, really painful to deal with, and like social media makes it 1,000 times worse.
Amen.
But it really is ultimately, you're like, oh, I would not be here, I would not be doing this, or I would not have this job or whatever if I was still in that relationship, if I was still in that job. Like,
oh, totally.
Where you're like, oh wow, like looking back and like the farther away you get, like you can see like from the outside of like how unhealthy stuff was, and thinking of like, oh, the level of effort I was putting in compared to the other side is so not balanced. And that's, you know.
Yeah. And I think you go through phases. Like I think when it first happened to me, and I think when it first happened to you, we were even saying like, we waited for that friend to come back. Like we had our phones on, we waited for them to text us, to call us. But you did a couple of awesome things to help you get through this. And the first thing you said that you did was delete phone numbers and block on social media. Why was that helpful for you to get over this?
And when somebody's like somebody blocked me, and people think it's like a really fuck you move, and in one way it is. I didn't mean it in an aggressive way. It seems like aggressive and people take it however they want. It was more for me, for my sanity, because what we do with anyone, I mean, we stalk people we like.
Yeah.
And that's when we're like still like friends and like them, let alone when somebody breaks up with us or whatever, then you're really stalking their page, whatever. And
oh my God.
The thing is, like, going to somebody who you're no longer with and hoping like to see how they're doing, it's social media. They're never going to post, man, like, hey, I'm doing horribly, I'm unemployed, I've gained 15 pounds. It's like going to their Instagram story and see, whatever you see is never going to make you feel good. No. They're never going to be doing an Instagram video of like eating ice cream and being like, I made a huge mistake. I love her. Like that's it. It's never going to be that. No. It's whatever it is, it's going to make you feel shitty about yourself. So that's why I'm like, I'm going to take every trigger, any possible like thing that attaches me to this out of the picture just for my own sanity. So I deleted the numbers, and then I blocked them, because also I don't even know my parents' numbers. So it's not like you remember them to, you know.
Thank God, right?
And so it's like, and also I'm like very, like I'm very manic. So it's like, I also have to take numbers out so I don't text stuff that I shouldn't be texting.
Right.
And so it's like kind of the equivalent of like drunk texting, but like all the time, just as my life.
Like 5 a.m.
So it's like I had to do that. And then I blocked the numbers because I didn't want, we all have like our stomach lurch with hope when our texts go off, being like, okay, this might be the person. Because when you get into a fight with somebody and your text goes off, like you're like, this is them apologizing or whatever. And I didn't want like that feeling of like, oh, this is it. This is it. And I was like, I can't do that to myself.
No, I'm going to be so honest and say that 2 days ago, I was on social media and I looked at that ex-best friend's profile. I actually was on my boyfriend's account, so we looked at her story. And after it happened, I felt physically ill and I felt like shit. And I thought to myself, like, what purpose was this for? Like, why did we go ahead and do this?
It's like emotional cutting. It's like I felt like that's what you're doing to yourself.
Totally. Like I felt like I took 75 steps back in the progress department, and that's why I remembered this is why you blocked her, because no matter what you look at, you're not going to feel good. You're not. It triggers you.
You're not going to. It
totally triggers you.
Like you're not going to feel good. Nothing you find on that page will make you feel relieved, will make you feel better about yourself. Nothing.
No.
And I kind of took it as, like, I know this sounds like I would tell like myself, okay, it's like one day at a time, sort of like the AA. And I'm like, when I made it, I'm like, okay, I get my 5-day chip. Like my 5-day chip, I've made it now a month. And every day I wouldn't go to their profiles. I'd be like so proud of myself because it's just like I'm fighting every urge to, like every natural desire,
which is hard, which is so hard to do.
And it does make a huge difference. Like you need to take away any possible trigger like that can like set you back in your day, where it's like it's already taking up so much of your brain space and so much of your thoughts. And the fact that you're probably thinking about this 1000% more than they are.
Totally. Like, and you gotta let it go. So like, I know that really helped you and that helped you make progress. Was there anything else you did that got you from point A to point B to be a lot happier with yourself and where you're at?
I definitely wallowed probably way longer than I should have. And I really like hit the, like really dipped. But I had to be like, okay, at what point are you going to stop like throwing yourself like a funeral? Yeah. Where you have to take it like today, like this is not coming back. Like this is gone. This is done. And you mourning every day is not helping you. It's making it worse. You're eating more. You're feeling like shit. And when you think about it, you're like, do I really miss that person? Or do I miss the feeling and story I had with them of just like, I just want to feel like I didn't lose something, you know?
Oh my God.
You know, where you have to like look back of like, do I miss the actual person or I miss the like feeling of having somebody like plugged into
you
that
miss the
spot.
memory. Like, I mean, you look back and of course when you look back at any memory, all you think about is the good, but you don't remember like the awkward silence or like the fight or like whatever. You just remember like the really happy moment. Like you look at a picture and you're like, oh, it was so much fun. We did Runyon Canyon, but like really it was like a little weird.
You think of all the highlight reels of what you're missing out on. You don't remember, like, especially if you're the one who's like broken up with, you don't remember all the painful times. All you're thinking of is like the times that you're missing out, like the love that you have. Also, I feel like friendship breakups suck more in the way of those are a lot of your best pictures of yourself. So I'm like, fuck. So
can't use it.
Also one thing that really helped, and I lost like 200 pictures from my Instagram. I deleted every single picture.
Wow. That
somebody was in.
Wow.
And I maybe that's like, it's not like the Sicilian anger part of me.
No, that's hard.
It is, I don't want to go and be like triggered. I don't want to go back and see pictures of things that make me sad. Totally. And a memory of that. And that's not what my Instagram is supposed to boost my fake self-esteem, you know? So it's just like, I took it out. I deleted it. And I mean, that was also before I knew that you could, people are like, did you archive the pictures? And I was like, I don't know what that means. No, but it's like, also I would delete the archives of
that too.
So yeah, that made a huge, that was also another thing that
I want to flip it because there's also people listening who are like, well, I need to break up with this friend. I have a friendship. It's not working. We've grown apart. How do I get them out of my life? So from two people who have been brutally broken up with by friends last year, what advice can we give them, Annabelle, about having to break up with friends? Like, let's say you had to break up with a friend. What do you think would be the right way of doing it? Or do you think breaking up is even something you should do with friends?
I think it's absolutely okay to break up with your friend. And I don't like the idea of if you break up with your friends or if you like that you're not a girl's girl.
Yeah.
Because it's like then people like they pit you against each other, or like, what a bitch, like she can't get along with so and so, like what's wrong with you, how dare you, like you're supposed to be like a great girlfriend, where it's like we have no problem when our friends break up with guys. Exactly. When people are dating, when our friends are dating people and they're like they break up, they get back together, they whatever, we don't judge when people date the opposite sex a lot and break up, but we judge when it's like friends.
Right. Like, how could we do this? Yeah.
And it's just like, it's still like an intimate relationship. And it's like, just because this person has been in your life doesn't mean they need to continue to be in your life if it's no longer healthy for either of you. Exactly.
I just think it's about how you go about
it's just like buying something. Like, I know if you buy something for like your house and it's just, I don't know, like it was like your Samsung, when all of those Samsung phones were catching on fire, right, and you're like, well, I paid for it, so I have to have it. It keeps, yes, it keeps exploding in my pocket, but I paid for it. And listen, it's my phone, you guys.
Like, have to have it.
Listen, everyone saw me with this phone and people know I have a phone. And
this just reminds me of paying for friends and sororities, which I know we talked about. But
and it's just like, just because you have spent time with somebody, you've invested your time, like that doesn't like erase all the great memories you had. That doesn't erase like the time you guys spent and what you learned from each other and the great stuff that you had. But it's like, that doesn't mean they have to be a permanent fixture if it's no longer healthy for you.
Totally. Like, I don't think there's
that's why divorce is available for marriage, and that is why friendship breakups are available for friendships, because you shouldn't be in something that makes you unhappy. It's not fair to you, and it's also not fair to that friend who may not know what's happening.
I don't think you can judge anyone for breaking up with a friend, but I do think you can judge for the way it goes down. Which I think, look, like if I don't want to be your friend anymore, that's on me to figure out the kindest possible way to go about that. But I think what you can judge is the brutal way that people push people out of their lives. And I think that is the problem. Like if my friend sat me down and was like, I don't want to be your friend anymore. Here's why. I'm not ready to work on those things with you, but I just want to tell you why, and let's keep our distance. I would respect that so much. And I feel like if your friends maybe, I don't know, they went about it in like a little bit more of a kinder, gentler way, I don't know, maybe it would be a little bit better.
Yeah, it's like, and there's no good way to be broken up with. It's just there's better ways than some, because I think when you don't know something, I think like that drives you more crazy, and that makes it like harder.
For sure.
But the fact is, like, you're never never gonna know. You're never gonna know. And even if you did know the reason, you'd be like, well, that doesn't make sense. It's like nothing you get is going to make you feel better about it. Like, so I saw it on like Instagram, like inspirational quote. So, it's true, but it's like adult life hack. You literally don't have to be friends with anyone you don't want to. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's true. Why are we making our lives so much harder by having people in our, like having relationships with people who just stress us out, who take more than they give, who just emotionally drain you? And it's like, when you come back, one of my friendships I had when I was leaving the house happier than coming back.
Yes.
And I get like, not every time you have a like super great time with your friend, but it's like, you have to do, like Tony Robbins is very big into like pie charts. And it's like, if you were coloring the amount of time and like love and support that you get from that person, like joy that you get from hanging out with them, compared to the part of like
too much
of what,
they suck from you. Yeah.
That you are it's probably not very even, but you just don't want, you're like, well, I can't like not be friends with that person. Why can't you not do so?
Totally.
It's like it's the like social constructs and like what we feel like. And I think especially as women, like, well, I can't do that. I can't not be friends with someone. I have to have them like me. I have to have people like me. So it's like, you can cut whoever you want out of your life if it is not healthy for you.
I can not love you enough for saying this, because I don't think we hear it enough as women. And I think a big part of what we all struggle with is that desire to be liked. And we feel as though if we step up to the table and say, like, I'm pissed at you about doing this, or I don't want to be your friend anymore, we start to feel like that's not appropriate behavior for us. But I think, we have to get over the fact that people are not going to like us. I definitely am guilty of this. I stay up late at night and like have anxiety over the fact that people might not like me. But like, you're right. It's something that we have to get over, but it's hard.
I don't think, obviously, like, guys have it as much, because I just was like, yeah, I'm not having, like, yeah, dude, I'm not hanging out. But it's like girls, even in like tabloids or whatever, like Taylor Swift's Girl Squad, like Carly Kloss is outside of the girls. And it's just pitted so much more just because it's like women, and it seems way more aggressive and way more blown up. Like, It has to be some terrible thing. Like, you've had to like fuck their boyfriend or something. And it's just like, no, sometimes it's like people just drift away. Like, stuff in your life sheds, like sheds away normally. And it's like people grow apart.
Yes.
And that's
like,
okay. That's normal. Yeah. That's fine. Can you imagine if you were still friends with every single person you've ever met?
Oh my God, I'm having anxiety thinking about that. No, because I'm a different person. Like, I'm completely different. And I think you're right. And I think moral of the story is, like, break up with people, but do it in a kind way. And also, if you are broken up with, do what you have to do to keep moving forward, because when people leave your life, you have to let them go.
Yes, that is the like best part of your advice. Like, that's like the most important of, it's just like, if people want to go, let them, because there's nothing worse than feeling like you've had to trap someone and beg someone to stay in your life.
Never, ever do that.
Because it's not going to work. It's not going to work out.
No. Then you're going to resent them.
You're going to be resentful. You're going to be that much more desperate and clingy and trying to like serve them, and it's exhausting and gross for both of you.
Totally. Seriously, like, I want to be your best friend. I am so obsessed with you. I love you. I think you're such a great person. And I want all of our listeners to also be your best friend. Go listen to Adderall and Compliments, subscribe, review, join her Facebook group. But for people to become your best friend, I feel like they need to know best friend things about you. So I'm going to ask you really fast, simple questions that I want you to answer with whatever comes to mind. All right, let's do this. When Annabelle needs to laugh, what does she do?
I watch The Office.
Really? Is that your number one show?
Yeah, I think we're like, right. Yeah, I think The Office, or I hang out with. That's like I feel like Sheena from Vanderpump Rules, where she's just like always talking about like her boyfriend, or always talking like
my boyfriend.
Although my boyfriend can't put up a TV in 7 minutes, he probably couldn't lift. It would take him 7 minutes just like to lift a TV,
which I feel like is
and
normal.
be like, ugh.
What is?
He's a Jewish comedy writer, like
which is a joke in itself.
Yeah, so he's. Like, my back. Like, yeah, he couldn't lift it up.
What's something you can't stop thinking about today?
Getting a spray tan.
Oh, you look great, though.
Well, it's molting. So it looks like I kind of have, like, I'm sort of, like, transitioning, like, how Michael Jackson did. I'm kind of like a black and white cookie right now. I'm kind of like in between colors, and I just need, it's like, shit or get off the pot. I just need to pick a color. And right now it's like, I just need to redo it. And that tomorrow I'm going to be at Disney all day, so I'm not going to have time.
What are you doing at Disney?
Our friend, Catherine, who's in the groups, and she's like a listener. Like, that's how I first met her. She's in town with her mother for her 30th birthday. They're in town from Ireland. So tomorrow we are going to Disney, and we're going right when the park opens. And I've never I didn't know that they have like fireworks at night or whatever. I'm like not a Disney person just because it involves like outside and children.
Right. It's a lot.
Two of my, not faves.
Yeah.
So we're going to be there from 8 to 11. And I'm just like, what about the spray tan?
Luckily, it's freezing in LA, though. So you can get away with like long sleeves.
Yeah. And also like he has glasses. So I just like really take the glass, and it's like my own Photoshop. Yeah. It's my own Instagram filter. And I'm like, boop. And he was like, I can't find my glasses. I'm like, yeah, weird.
Can't see anything.
Guess we left him in the Uber. Oops. Let's just keep going. Let's just keep progressing with the evening.
Oh my God. What is one promise that you make to yourself that you will never break?
Oh, that's like a really good one.
It's tough. They're going to get progressively tougher.
Oh, probably that I'll always have cats.
Tuxedo is sitting here so well behaved.
He's been so quiet.
He really has.
I'm really shocked he's been so quiet.
What breaks your heart?
Being away from my family.
You are like on the opposite coast. You are far.
Yeah, being away from my family and feeling like I've let people down. Like, I know, feeling people be disappointed.
My final question for you. This is how we end every single one of our interviews, and you've done this before, but you're going to do it again. Fill in the blank. You're not getting any younger, so
do it. Stop worrying about how you look. Stop not going to events or a party or whatever because it's supposed to be one word. You're like, it was like supposed to be. You're like, it's one word. I've stopped recording.
Keep going.
But it's just the amount of. It sound like not like Coco Chanel or no, it was Bobby Brown because I always have to clarify. But I'm not talking about like Whitney Houston's Bobby Brown. I'm like, you probably shouldn't listen to anything he says. But Bobby Brown, the one the makeup company, she said something that I was like, it's so true, and it like really like hit me. And she's like, if I could get back all the time I spent hating my body and not going to events or enjoying things because of how I looked, I would have years of my life back.
I love it.
And I was like, oh, that, because it's like, I look back and it's like, I don't remember like how I looked in that dress, like the times I went out. But I do remember all the things I missed out on because because of what I thought I looked like.
I'm happy you said that too, because I'm feeling that right now. But it's so true. It's like, stop looking at yourself in the mirror so closely. Just go.
And also because everyone else is looking that closely at themselves in the mirror.
True.
Like no one is thinking about you as much as you're thinking about yourself and being confident in it. And I know it's like, that's like the most basic thing. Like, be confident in your body. But it's like, when you watch like some TV shows and it's like there will be like bigger girls than you, but they're wearing like two pieces or like whatever, wearing like bathing suits, and they look amazing, but it's just because they're fucking like so confident. It's like, I don't know if you watch Shaws of Sunset. I
have seen it, yeah.
But like MJ, it's like she like wears outfits that I'm like, even at like my like thinnest, like after like 2 things of food poisoning, I'd be like, I'd be too like nervous to wear that, but she like wears it and looks amazing because she's so confident in it. And you don't think of like, wow, I can't believe like she's wearing that. You're just like, oh fuck, like look how confident she is. And it's like really sexy. What's not confident is even when I was in like my smallest size, is like me in the mirror like hunched over being like, oh, I don't know what people think of like how my skin looks in this lighting and this outfit. So and like
I know. I have to remind myself that more often, because even lately I've been looking at myself and I'm like, I see so much I don't like. But you're so right. Like, even when I came here today, I'm like, Annabelle, I apologize for my appearance. Like, my hair is greasy. I have deodorant all over my shirt. But you're not like looking at my shirt that closely. I
also think about like, you think you look horrible. Like, we all think we look, Yeah. But it's like, there are so many people who would kill to like look like you. And everyone who's listening to this, just think about on Instagram, I got a message a few years ago from a guy I went to high school with who told me that he had always been in love with me in high school and that he wanted to lick my feet every day.
Stop.
And I was like, wow, I never knew about this guy, but apparently he wanted to lick my feet every day. And so I want you to remember, youngins, that's like, there are so many people out there who have wanted to lick your feet who were too shy to tell you. It's like, so many people have been attracted to you and were too shy to come up. Think about how many people you've seen that are attractive that you didn't go up to. And so it's like, people have thought about you that way. So many people that you don't know want to lick your feet. So you should just remember, you should be more confident in yourself, because there's tons of people who have weird fetishes about you.
Oh my God. I seriously love you so much. I am both crying and laughing because that is just the perfect way to end this. Annabelle, you are amazing. Everyone listening, please support the heck out of her. She is the coolest person I've ever met. Adderall and Compliments. Please tell our listeners where they can find out more about you and literally be your best friend.
Oh, please. I love you so, so much. I said because we just recorded an episode for Adderall and Compliments, and it's so much fun. You are still one of my top 10 favorite podcasts, and like one of my like favorite podcasting memories of when I felt so confident and really like in it. It was like my first time podcasting with somebody I hadn't met before, and I like clicked with you. I was like, that was like the best first date I've ever been on. Like I clicked with Jen like more than I clicked with like people I'd known here for like 8 years. So go to Adderall and Compliments on iTunes and listen to our episode. Like we have 2 episodes together and they're so good. And Annabelle DeSisto on Instagram.
And we will link to all of this in our show notes, post about it in the group. Annabelle, thank you so much. You are freaking amazing. Hey, you. Thank you for listening to the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast. There are hundreds of thousands of pods out there, so thank you for listening to this one. You can find the show notes for this week's episode up on our website, anyyounger.com. Subscribe, rate, and review the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast on iTunes so that other ears around the world can listen too. Oh, and join our secret You're Not Getting Any Younger Facebook group, where over 1,000 people are talking about how to disrupt their lives, for good reason, to make it count. Until next week, all my love, Jen Glantz.